Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind. Remember to subscribe to our free podcast so you won't miss any of our illuminating content. Here is episode 181.
I really believe, honestly, that everybody has their passion and that we don't have to change the world. We can actually just follow our passion, gather the other people that want to do it as well, and then help to implement and create change in that society.
Benjamin Franklin once said, "Do not curse the darkness, rather light a candle instead." If you're ready to set your mind on fire, then prepare yourself for the Luminous Mind with your host, Rebecca Bowman.
Today's Firestarter is Heidi Totten. Heidi is a wife, mother of 2 children, runs a consulting business and a humanitarian organization that focuses on projects in Kenya, Africa, and then sometimes she sleeps. She is the best-selling author, speaker, coach, trainer, and loves helping people discover the mentoring, tools, and resources they need to achieving their dreams. In 2015, Heidi went to Kenya on a humanitarian expedition, and her life changed forever. One day she heard a voice saying, "Go start a group on Facebook called 100 Humanitarians. I'll let you know why." Since then, life has been a faith walk for her, and every day is a new adventure. By the end of 2016, she will have taken over 50 people to Kenya to implement programs and projects for families that are her passion and calling in life. Heidi has helped hundreds of entrepreneurs over the past 3 years build their online programs, social media strategies, and sales scripts. She also teaches people how to manifest miracles in their lives and business. She homeschools her 2 children, or as she puts it, facilitates their education and mentors them whenever they will listen. She loves people and loves life. And Heidi is also a past Firestarter. She's actually on episode 21. And so we're excited to have her back and learn more about her humanitarian efforts. But welcome, Heidi.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I am so excited to be here.
It's so fun to talk to you again. Last time we talked with Heidi, it was mostly just what she was doing in her personal life with her own family and her children, and then also her business. She helps homeschoolers in particular with their entrepreneur efforts. Is that not correct?
In a couple of years ago, I wrote a book called Homeschool on Fire, Be the CEO of Your Business and Homeschool. And it hit #1 on Amazon.
Awesome.
Which was kind of funny. And so it was actually on my birthday, which was a lot of fun. And so, I help a lot of homeschooling entrepreneurs, a lot of speakers, authors, coaches, and trainers build their business and find the blind spots in their business. And then there are a lot of moms that I mentor in balancing business and homeschool and using a system. And I hold them accountable each week so that they keep progressing because it gets hard. Things get mundane, and I can kind of infuse some excitement back into it with giving them ideas and helping them to stay on target with their goals for homeschooling. So it's a lot of fun and a lot of work and a lot of challenges, but I love it.
Yeah. And it's awesome because it really does. I mean, you prove that people can do both, that, we can have a life outside of homeschool. So it's pretty awesome. But today we're going to focus mostly on her website, 100humanitarians.com, and some of her work that she's done about that. Why don't you go ahead and just briefly tell the audience a little bit about yourself and then just launch right into your journey, of how you came to your humanitarian work.
Okay. So I am a wife and I am a mother of 2 kids, and they are 11 and 13. We've homeschooled for the last 5 years, and I'm really passionate about helping people grow their business, especially authors, speakers, coaches, and trainers and homeschoolers. I love working with people that are in the healing arts and who want to build a business helping others. And so 2 years ago, I launched my first book on March 3rd, which is my birthday. And so it was 2015. And I launched my book and it hit bestseller on Amazon. And 2 days later, I got on a plane to go to Kenya. in Africa. For those of you who don't know where Kenya is, because I wasn't entirely positive. I knew it was Africa, but I didn't know where it was in Africa. I didn't know it was East Africa. I really had no idea. So,
well, and the cool thing is I remember even talking to you about that back, in, when we first started 150 episodes ago.
It's crazy that's how many episodes you've done. That just makes me feel like I've been doing this for a long time. So.
That's awesome.
And so I got on the plane. I went with friends. It was peer pressure. I really had no desire to ever set foot in Africa. That's the irony, is that there were about 50 other countries that I wanted to go to before going to any countries in Africa. And so when my friends were like, come with us, let's do this, I said, well, okay, I guess, I figured it would be a fun girls trip at least. And it really just, my heart blew wide open. I did not anticipate the effect that it would have on my life. I really didn't. And sometimes people have said, if you had known, would you have gone? And I'm like, some days yes, some days no. I've got to be honest, because it really has rearranged my life, and it rearranged a lot of my business and my relationships with people. Because when you step into something like this, and it's really your mission and your focus, it tends to create some waves in your life. People like other people to be predictable, and this made me very unpredictable. And so it really did shake things up a lot. But the summer after I went to Kenya, and I just kept, honestly, what kept coming to me was that I was going to be taking homeschooling families, or that I was going to be taking families. That's what just kept coming into my head. Since then, I take a whole variety of people, but I do take families as well. And in 2016, I took 10 children to Kenya, including my own, which was awesome. My daughter goes with me on almost every expedition, and she absolutely loves Kenya. She feels it's her home away from home, and she's the adventurous soul. My husband and son have not gone yet. My son has no desire to go. My husband is planning on going with me in November. So as I was contemplating it and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, one Sunday I got out of the shower and I was getting ready for church, and a voice came into my head that said, go start a group on Facebook called 100 Humanitarians, and I'll let you know why. And I was like, well, all right then. So that's exactly what I did, and started inviting people, and it grew from there. Now the group is up to around 1,300 people.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it grew pretty fast, and it was really interesting to watch as it came in. And then I went back to Kenya for a scouting trip in the fall of 2015. So in November, I went for a couple of weeks. And during those 2 weeks, I really immersed myself in the Maasai tribe, which is the tribe that I primarily work with. There are two tribes that I work with, the Kalenjin tribe and the Maasai, and they're both runners. They're both the Olympic runners in Kenya. A Maasai won gold, and then the Kalenjin tribe, they produce a lot of the Kenyan runners, I think 40% of the Olympians. So I scouted out, decided what I wanted to do. And then I got back and I opened up the trip for people and said, hey, does anyone want to go to Kenya with me? Turned out people did. And it's pretty funny. And so within the first couple of months after I opened the trip, it was really looking like I was going to have to fill 2 trips. And so I asked my team in Kenya, what do we do? And they said back-to-back expeditions. So bring a group, send them home. We'll pick up another team. And, and I said, are you kidding me? Stay in Kenya for a month? Don't you know? I'm like a stay-at-home mom running a business, and I've got kids, and what are you talking about? But my husband is amazing, and he was super supportive and said, yeah, go do it. Why not? And
so awesome.
And we have this joke where we say, take a kid, everywhere we go. Okay, see you later, take a kid. So I took my daughter, and she spent the month with me in Kenya. I took 26 people on those 2 expeditions. And the crazy thing was, I found out later that it had never been done before. They had never done back-to-back expeditions with 2 groups with that many people running 2 Jeeps in Kenya. So we really broke the mold with that. And when I got back, I opened up my fall trips, and the same thing happened, only more people. And so in November, I went back for another month, and took my daughter on the first trip. I actually sent her back mid-trip with a friend of mine because she wanted to go on a trip with her dad, but took 2 back-to-back groups with 28 people. And when I looked at the stats for the year, I realized that out of the 50 people that went with me to Kenya, because a few people were duplicates that came on the fall trip as well. Out of those 50 people, I knew exactly 6 of them prior to starting 100 Humanitarians.
Oh, that's awesome. All brand new.
People did not know me when they signed up for this trip, which really told me I'm the steward over this, but this is not my gig. I'm not recruiting friends to go.
That's so awesome. That's
so
great.
It's been really interesting.
Well, and let's kind of talk about like the inspiration and mission behind, 100 Humanitarians. Is it more than just traveling? Is it more than just getting people there? And why do you take them there? Why is that a part of the passion of the mission?
Well, the concept of 100 Humanitarians is what is the power of 100 people working on any project in the world to create change? So I'm simply taking the first 100 people for these projects to Kenya to say, what is the power of, this year it will be 35 people. Last year was 50. I'm not doing back to back again. That was a little crazy. But, all in all, and like I said, I do have some repeat customers, which is funny to me that I'm creating Kenya addicts the same as me. But out of those, 85 people that will have gone over the 2 years, then if I throw in another 15, then I can look at that and say the power of 100 people means this. This is what we collectively fundraised for, achieved, built, and implemented for these people in Kenya because we were all working on this project together, and we did it over, an 18-month period or a 2.5-year period or a 3-year period or however long it takes us. And so my goal in this is also to encourage people to start their own humanitarian missions. And so, and that has happened where people have said, okay, I want to do this, but I want to do my own thing because I'm passionate about this. And I'm like, great, go do it. I absolutely support you in that, because there are some people that this will be their project and this will be their passion with what we're doing. And other people that say, this just inspired me to pursue the other things that I've always wanted to pursue. And so the reason why I take people is to give them the opportunity to immerse themselves in a culture completely different. And honestly, I always will say, we really don't change them, they change us. And that has an impact here in our local community. Because back here and our hearts are changed, then we start to do things differently in our community, and that's powerful.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I know Heidi fairly well. I follow her on Facebook and stuff, and I noticed that she has brought some of the Kenyans and some of the folks that she's met over there to America. Let's kind of talk about that. I mean, what was your educational type thing that you're trying to do there with bringing people over?
So that's our cultural exchange program. And it's been an interesting experiment. We tried to bring both of my team members, who are our director of expeditions and our director of projects. We tried to bring them both over in the fall, but we were only able to get a visa for one of them. Oh. Fortunately, we got a 5-year visa. And so he can come back whenever he needs to. And we set it up so that he could come over, and he had actually been to the US before. So that's what made it easier for him to get his visa. But he came over and stayed with us for 5 weeks, and we did multiple fundraising efforts. He actually performed at the Choice Humanitarian Gala. We ended up doing a couple of videos with Alex Boyer,
which is awesome. I mean, you should get on their website. I might just sit and listen to the music over and over because I love it.
I know,
really
it's
awesome.
Pretty addictive. But
yeah, and you're in the video, which is cool.
I am. And had I known I was going to be in it, I totally would have worn a different shirt. I was like, wow, I'm a little bright. But anyway, yeah, that was really hilarious because I had said prior to Moses coming over, I had said, ooh, what would it take to get Alex Boyer to perform at a Taste of Kenya, which was the big event that we were going to do. And not only did he end up performing, but we made a video out of it. It was this whole crazy, like I could not have planned it. It just happened to work that way. It was through the efforts of many, but it was just really fascinating to watch how it all came together. And then we did humanitarian workshops for kids, which I always have when I bring Kenyans. In fact, we've had our friend Anita, who's the director of operations in Bomet County for us. She's part of the Kalenjin tribe. We've had her here for the last couple of weeks as well. And we always do these humanitarian workshops for kids so that these Kenyans can talk about the impact that what we're doing has on families in Kenya and how it has an impact on children and their education. And so we'll continue to do that. We have goals to continue to work on getting them their visas so that they can come here and have their own cultural experience as well. And we can go there, and it's this, this is exchange of knowledge and experiences. And, like I said, we really do learn way more from them than they learn from us. That's for sure. But yeah, it was really fun. It was 5 weeks. And then actually Moses flew back at the same time that I did with our team. And so I joked that if we could spend 9 weeks dealing with each other, then we could probably accomplish anything, so. And awesome. It's cute. I'm really close to his family. I'm very close to his wife, Lisa. Their daughter, their baby girl is named after me. They're like family to me. His family on the Maasai tribe and many of the families that I spend time with they feel like family to me. They just do.
That's awesome. Let's talk about some of the projects that you're doing with 100 humanitarians. I mean, there's several different things that you talked about, like the workshops and fundraising, but what's the fundraising for?
So we have 4 different things that we focus on. Number 1 is we focus on school fees for specific families that we are supporting with business boxes, which is number 2. But the school fees, that's where we can create real change. If we were to pay school fees for all of these kids all the way through school, each kid would cost thousands of dollars because in kindergarten through 8th grade, the school fees are about $10 to $40 per term, depending on the area in the school. After they graduate from 8th grade, they go into secondary school. It's often boarding school, and the school fees go up to $500 or $600 for a year.
Wow.
So that makes it really critical for them to be able to continue, because if they do graduate from secondary school, then they usually can go to university and they can get in, which has a huge impact on their family. Obviously, education is everything. But what we looked at was, we could spend all of our efforts just fundraising for school fees, or we can empower their individual families to start businesses. So we created the business box for families. And in 2016, we were able to fundraise for 12 business boxes. And a business box includes a cow for milk, a goat for milk, 5 chickens for laying eggs, and then later for food, 3 garden boxes for growing vegetables, so raised garden beds, or water conservation systems, which is something that we're adding and that we're implementing because the Masai Mara, where we work, is experiencing an extreme drought right now. So we're trying to figure out how to help conserve water and also drill wells there. And then trees so that we can basically replace the wood that we use for the garden boxes. So we try to make everything really sustainable, really self-reliant, and we teach self-reliance. And so one of the things so we did that for 12 families. And then we also do Days for Girls. We have 2 Days for Girls enterprises that we support in Kenya. One is in Nairobi, and then one is in Bomet County. And we just recently sent 2 people to Days for Girls University in Uganda in order to get that training. And
explain that a little bit more. What is Days for Girls?
Days for Girls was an organization created by Celeste Mergens after she spent time in Kenya. It's now all over the world. But after she spent time in Kenya and realized that many girls did not have access to feminine hygiene supplies. And so what was happening is if they didn't have access to it, when they started their periods, they would go home and sit on a cardboard box, and they kept getting further behind in school. And then they would end up either dropping out or, depending on the culture, they would end up being circumcised and married off to a man that's 40 or 50 years old with a whole bunch of other wives, which is one of the challenges in the Maasai community, is that even though it's illegal in the country, it's still FGM and early marriage is still practiced. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to help grassroots organizations locally to educate that out of the community. And it's working. I mean, not necessarily our efforts, but it's working to educate it out. There's incredible organizations. My friend Meg runs one called Cut the Cut, where she's basically saying, let's come up with alternative rites of passage for our girls. So Days for Girls was created. It's a reusable feminine hygiene kit made out of flannel. And Christine, who runs one of the Days for Girls enterprises that we support, also owns a sewing business, and she supports 5 families and keeps 5 kids in school with her sewing business. So if we fundraise for 50 kits per month, then it's allowing her to do that and to support her own family as well. The kits are about $10 for us. So we do some fun events called Mandalas and Munchies, where it's come on over, bring a munchie, bring $20, and we're going to all color together for girls. In order to provide the money for these kits for these girls. So Days for Girls. So we've got the school fees, the business boxes for families, the Days for Girls. And then our big goal for 2017 is to build an educational cultural center on the Masai Mara. We have the land for it. We have the business license for it. It's fenced. We did a launch concert. And now comes the time where we also have site plans, and an architect is working on the blueprints right now. And now comes the time where we do massive fundraising, because then we can have things like a sewing center at the cultural center. We can have art classes. We can have mentoring in business. We can have square foot gardens so that we can train the Maasai on how to use them. We can have a chicken coop so that we can raise chickens, so that we can have access to that for these families to fund business boxes for families faster. And then a big part of it is also to preserve the oral history and culture of the Maasai tribe through using, a computer lab to track their family history and genealogy, because they're largely an oral history. And as the elders die off, or the oldest person in the village, the stories go with them. So we want to start to preserve their stories. This is something that has been a huge dream for many people in that community, is to have a way to do this. It's something that came to me. I just kept saying, we're supposed to build a center to train and mentor all of these people, and then it will grow from there. We actually have 2 plots of land that we can use in Kenya, but we need to build one first. And we do that. We encourage people to just donate $10, $25 a month on our website under donations, because every little bit adds up. And so if we have, 1,000 people donating $10 a month, we can build multiple cultural centers. We can educate multiple families and keep girls in school for up to 3 years longer with every Days for Girls kit that we have sewn. It's a compounding effect. And it's really that, what is the power of small numbers multiplied together in order to really create this change?
That's awesome. Well, it doesn't sound like it's been an extremely easy, thing to do. I mean, you have multiple projects going on, different ways that you're helping. Let's talk about maybe some challenges that you've had along the way, and then what you've learned from those.
Well, it's a huge faith walk. This is not something where I am able to just say, hey, y'all, let's do this together and have a whole bunch of people jump in. It's a very specific tribe in Kenya. It's a hard tribe to work with. There are 42 different tribes in Kenya, and they are, and I say hard because of their living circumstances. They're about 2 hours away from the closest town, and they live largely in mud huts and are surrounded by safari animals. And so they have to deal with the realities of an elephant, crashing through their village, or a hippo or a lion picking off their cows. And in the middle of that extreme poverty, and some of the people that I've taken with me have been to other developing countries, and they've even said they've never seen poverty like this. in the middle of all of that are huge multi-million-dollar safari camps because it's the number one safari destination in the world.
Wow.
So what you're dealing with is all of this money going through and yet all of this poverty, and like 40% of the revenue in Kenya comes from the safari camps, but it does not benefit the people. Most of the, well, not all, but well, not even most, a lot of the safari guides are Maasai. So it has kept a lot of them employed, but the real challenges are helping people to understand that $10 for them is nothing. $10 in Kenya will buy 2 chickens. It will keep a girl in school for 3 years. It will pay for a term for a child for school fees. And compounded, it would build a cultural center to provide mentoring and education for thousands in a community. Yeah. And so that's where it turns into the challenge of being able to convey this message and say, this is just the legacy that I want to leave, and that I've gathered people into my proverbial 100 humanitarians tribe that have said, yes, we're all in, right? That they're showing up and they're saying, I don't know why I'm supposed to go to Kenya with you, but I am. And I just say, awesome, let's go. So as I take more and more people over there, they're finding that they're drawn to this tribe as well. But the challenges are also that there are people who really aren't, and that don't want to participate. And that's hard for me. I encourage them to do their own thing, but it's challenging for me personally when I take people over and they come back and they're just, oh, that was a nice vacation. Oh. And I'm just thinking, wow, okay. Because, we have our own experiences and we want other people, we do it with our kids, we take them to Disneyland. We want them to have this magical experience and, just love it. And they're a cranky mess and they just want all the plastic toys. And so we all go through it. But when we have our own experience and we say to people, oh my gosh, I want you to have this experience, and they don't, that's really difficult. Yeah. The other piece is there's a lot of competition in humanitarian work, which is baffling because there's a lot of work to do. And so I've had struggles with friends where it kind of baffles me because I've had to really look at myself as a leader. I've learned so much in where I've been in situations where I'm more like the wind beneath the wings of the leader. And when I disagreed with what the leader did, it was really frustrating for me. Well, now I'm on the other side. And when I see people disagree and I'm thinking, oh, so this is what they were going through. So it's been, definitely a humbling experience to be on the other side and say, oh, okay, I got it. Sometimes you just really have to make the hard decisions. And sometimes, you lose people in the process, and that's really heartbreaking. I've never gone through a refiner's fire like this before. Not even close.
Before we go on, let's listen to this message. Changing a paradigm takes some study, but like me, you are probably super busy. That's why we've teamed up with Audible. Go to our website, theluminousmind.net. Get a free month of Audible with 2 audiobooks, thousands of titles in exchange for only books that you absolutely love. You too can be learning on the go to keep that fire burning. Welcome back to The Luminous Mind with Heidi Totten, who's building nations with love, trust, and voluntary cooperation. Well, I love how you talk about it being a faith walk and your experience of it being, this is like real thing for you, and to see people treat it like a vacation, sometimes it's heartbreaking. Do you feel like that's, how your paradigm has changed over time with experience, or is there something else that you feel like, you've kind of grown, you've become more because of this experience?
Well, in 2016, I wanted to just hold space for people to have their own experience. Now I'm directing it a little more. I do a lot of cultural education about my experiences with these different tribes. And so instead of just doing like three webinars or calls, over the several months as we're preparing for the trip, I'm doing calls every 2 weeks. And I'm really involving them and really doing a lot of team building activities. I'm having them read different books like Leadership and Self-Deception from the Arbinger Institute, The Anatomy of Peace. I'm helping them to have a greater understanding of what they'll experience so that when we get over there, it's not just a huge culture shock. I mean, there's no way around it. But I'm really trying to, instead of just saying, I'm just here to let you have your own experience, saying, no, we have a common objective. And if this isn't your objective as well, if your objective is to do other things that fall outside the specific projects that we're working on, then this probably isn't the trip for you.
It sounds like there's enough tour guides around that it's not like, and maybe that's why you had to kind of be more general at the beginning, because you're just wondering how your message is going to be received. But obviously, people are interested, and now you're trying to make sure that they have like a common, like you guys have the same type of.
We just all have the same focus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That there's the same focus there. Great.
Where before it was more like, I don't know, what do you want to do? And so, which doesn't really work, but because I always tell people, find the one. There's one person that you went to Kenya to meet and that will have the biggest impact. And that will be your story that you bring back with you. But now I'm so much more focused because it's getting this cultural center built. It's getting these projects done and setting I didn't have a clear picture of what I wanted to do last year when we started. We were kind of, let's build desks for a school. Let's do this. Where now I'm like, nope, we're going to accomplish this, and this year. Are you in?
Yeah.
Because if you're in, then let's go to Kenya and let's do this. But here's what's interesting is that a couple of weeks ago, I opened up my November trip. So in January, and I said, okay, I'm opening up the November trip to Kenya, and I sold out within 24 hours.
Oh, that's cool.
That's November. I mean, it's months from now. And a lot of the people that are going on that trip have gone with me to Kenya before. So they're in. And so now we're starting to gather the people that are like, yes, this is my tribe too. These are my projects too. And I'm heavily invested in it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, yeah. And that kind of moves me into my next question, and maybe you've already answered it, but you've talked a lot about success that you've seen. Do you want to, is there anything more you want to add to that? Like, how this is growing and you are changing the lives of these people, or they're changing they're changing our lives.
Yeah. Well, I really believe, honestly, that everybody has their passion and that we don't have to change the world. We can actually just follow our passion, gather the other people that want to do it as well, and then help to implement and create change in that society. I have a friend who wants to create transition centers in Warsaw, Poland for women coming out of human trafficking. And I said, okay, let's find the other 99 people in the world that want to do that as well, because that's really specific.
Yeah.
But that's where the power of 100 comes in, because there's power in 20 and there's power in 30 and 40 and 50. And then what's the tipping point, right? So I think like the next step, I don't know. I want to build more cultural centers, but my goal is to stay as much as possible with the Maasai and use it because it's such an indigenous tribe. They still wear a lot of their traditional clothing, where that's not the case in Kenya. In the rest of Kenya, they mostly wear Western style clothing. And so I want to see this through, and I want this to be something where I can watch and experience the changes and know that it was because of a joint effort with their community and mine, like their tribe and my tribe, that we were able to create change in both places, not just in Kenya, but also in us and what we can do here as well.
Well, and it might be a model for the other tribes. It might be somebody looking at it going, yeah, I want to, to go where Heidi's gone, but maybe with another tribe somewhere else. Do you feel like that maybe?
Yeah. And that's awesome. I don't have a problem with that. It's not that I'm opposed working with other tribes. It's that I have so much of a pull to the Maasai. So that's where I know I'm supposed to be. But, we do other projects. Christine, who runs our, the Days for Girls Enterprise, is from Western Kenya. And she came to me and she said, Dada, which is sister, that's what she calls me. She said, Dada, here's the deal. In my village, the spring has dried up and we need to revamp it. It's about $300. Can you fundraise for that? And I said, absolutely. If you run it and if the community fundraises 10%. So they have to contribute to it. And so she went to Western Kenya, or she went home and she said, okay, we can do this. And she oversaw the whole thing. Here's the irony. The original well or spring that she didn't know, but the original spring was built by her father.
Oh.
And so, which she didn't know at the time. And so she revamped the spring. She wrote 100 humanitarians on it in the concrete.
Oh, that's cool.
And I haven't even seen it because I haven't been to that area of Kenya, but Kenya is experiencing a severe drought right now. And all of the local springs in that area have dried up except for this one. So we just call it our miracle spring.
That is cool. That is really cool. Yeah. Well, you've talked about, your cultural center that you're trying to build, and that's really a focus of yours. But do you have any other long-term goals of where you hope this is going to go? And how does that work into your legacy? I should add that part in there too, because you kind of talked about that. But
well, we do have additional land on the northern part of the Masai Mara that overlooks the migration, which is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. And so, our goal would be to build another cultural center and duplicate it in other areas of the Mara once we get it really working. I want to empower them to do it. When we've been working in Bomet County for the last year, and Bomet just simply has more resources. And so Anita, who's been here for the last couple of weeks, we've been able to spend a lot of time talking. And in our conversations, we've been able to map out a plan to make Bomet really self-sufficient so that we don't have to fundraise for them at all. And so that they are creating business enterprises with chickens and Days for Girls and things like that, so that they're creating their own basically economy and we can step out. Yeah. And that's really my ultimate goal, is to get these places. I mean, I want to build a cottage at the cultural center that's mine. And I joke that when I die, I want to be buried and have an avocado tree planted above me so that I can so that people can eat avocado and tell me all the gossip on the Mara and stuff like that. But ultimately, I want to use my skills and leverage my connections and my network to empower these people to be able to create self-reliance and nutrition and just better their lives and be able to pay for their own school fees to get their kids to school. Because I think that's where the most empowerment comes, is if these families at the grassroots family level, if they can be empowered to run businesses and pay their kids' school fees, and then they have a sense of ownership and pride in it versus if it's just a handout.
Yeah. Well, I've actually heard that. That's one of the downsides of humanitarian work, is that we come in with shoes or we come in with this or that. And yeah, it helps for that one particular time, moment in time. But then when we pull out, we end up taking, the shoemaker that was making the shoes or whatever ends up having to go out of business because, they get inundated with all these shoes and all of a sudden he's not needed. And I love how you're actually trying to helping them be more self-sufficient, because, it's great to go in and want to help this way or that way, but you definitely want eventually that they pick up the pieces and make it go from there. And
I really avoid taking any donations over at all whatsoever. The only donations that I'll take over typically are toothbrushes and toothpaste. I did start with taking a ton of donations. That was a nightmare logistically with luggage and the Jeeps. And I learned my lesson. I mean, hauling extra suitcases full of stuff to try and figure out where to donate it was really a pain. Yeah. exactly that. I would rather say to people, hey, do you want to just donate $100 and I'll go buy shoes there?
Yeah.
So I try and keep the economy of Kenya in Kenya. We really don't take donations over. I have people constantly saying to me, oh, what can I do? What can I gather for you to take over? And I just say, I'm sorry, nothing. I don't want to be known as an organization that donates stuff. I want to be known as an organization that donates mentoring and time.
Yeah.
And so that's been, and training, and that's been really interesting because I think most people in their mind, they think of humanitarian work as donations, and it's not. Humanitarian work is to see the humanity in these people that don't have what we have and say, I see the humanity in you and I honor it. And let me just help you learn some tools and have access to some resources so that you can make your life better.
Yeah.
Teach them those principles and let them govern themselves.
Well, and I think you're showing respect for them because, a lot of times we just send over our junk that they don't want anyway,
Yes.
And that's just showing that we don't have respect for their culture or the things that they love or the things that they really need, that, we've got to see that side of them.
It's so funny because the first time I went over, we took some women clothes to the Maasai women. And, people donated jeans and things like that. Well, Maasai women don't wear pants. And so if they aren't wearing their traditional dress, they're wearing skirts anyway. And so I realized,
can't imagine the chafing that would go on there.
Yeah. I just was like, well, that was kind of dumb, But that's the thing, is that I now really heavily rely on them to say, here's what we need. And it doesn't, I really don't work in schools and orphanages because I focus as much as possible on the family and on empowering the family, because I feel like if we can empower the family and help them with business skills and develop a business mindset, then they can contribute to their own children's schools the same way that we do.
Exactly.
Like we don't say to Kenyans, hey, could you come over here and could you donate to our schools?
Yeah.
Right. And so there are just things that are like, I try not to take candy over for kids because they don't have access to dental care. And because it would be weird if people from another country came to our neighborhoods and just started driving around handing out candy.
Yeah.
So
we told our kids to avoid that.
I know. So I try and just say, hey, if I wouldn't do it here, then I'm not going to do it there. I know that there have been articles on people going over and painting orphanages, 12 times because the humanitarian group wanted something to do. And for me, I say, okay, it's not about wanting something to do. It's about connecting with people. And that's the hard part for a lot of people. It's about connecting with people and seeing the humanity in them, because that's what creates change. I can send over, $40 and say, hey, go paint this orphanage. Kenyans know how to paint.
And it'd give people a job. Yeah.
So I just am very pragmatic about it. But I also am very conscientious about how these dollars are spent. And I try to make sure that every dollar that comes into 100 Humanitarians is spent to further our 4 objectives and to create self-reliance and sustainability. And if I can find ways to cut costs and to get things for less so that our dollar stretches more, then I do that as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and, before we say goodbye, give us some parting advice for our listeners, and then give us your contact information, how they can go on. I donated actually right before I got on and talked to Heidi. I've been watching her for a while. I totally trust what she's doing, that, she's going to use, like she said, use the dollars wisely. And so, let's talk a little bit about that, how they can go ahead and do that.
So on 100humanitarians.com, you can donate on almost every page, but you can go and see the different projects that we're working on, the progress we've made so far, how many things we've donated. Every single family that we have donated a business box to, I have met them. I've either gone to their house or I've met them at events, but I have met every single family. And I make sure that that policy is in place so that it's not just some arbitrary family that we don't know. I am there. I am delivering a cow. I'm delivering a goat, so So that's really important. So you'll see pictures of the different families that we've worked with. On the donations page, there's a one-time donation, and then there's ongoing donations where you can do $10, $25, $50, $100. And all of it, like I said, goes to 100% of these donations minus, whatever PayPal takes for being our processor, goes to these projects. I don't make any money off of it. And I actually pay most of the administrative costs for the organization. The other thing is we don't pay people in Kenya unless they're supporting us in an expedition. So we'll pay our drivers, but we don't pay salaries in Kenya because same thing, they want to be self-reliant and they want to live that example, which is just awesome. And I really respect and admire them for that. And so
you can be, from what I'm getting from what you're saying is that you can be assured that this is actually going to help somebody, just not administration costs. Correct?
Yeah, it does not go to any administration costs. If we need administrative costs, we will hold an event that's separate, but just the donations from people are 100% goes to the projects. And even we haven't done an administrative event yet. We probably will need to this year because we're getting big enough that there are some things that we need to start paying for and pay for other people to do so that I don't go absolutely crazy. You can really only have volunteers for so many things. But yeah, what I encourage people to do is, we always have that saying, find your passion. But honestly, if you're living your life in alignment and you're following your intuition and you're saying yes to the things that interest you, then your passion will find you, knock you over, and suddenly you're going to Kenya, several times a year. That's and awesome. So I just want to encourage you, but that when that happens, step into it because it's the best learning experience that I've had. It's taught me about economics. It's taught me about mentoring. Like I thought I was a mentor until I experienced this. And what's ironic is that my degree is in family science. And then I joked that I would never use it. And here I am, mentoring families and working with families. And so really, I would really encourage people obviously to donate and participate if these projects resonate with their objectives for how they want to impact the world. Obviously, they can come with us on an expedition. We're hoping to run more expeditions next year. I'm training team leads this year so that I don't have to go on every single one of them. And, just see if it resonates with your heart to donate and to contribute. Oh, and we also have a group on Facebook called 100 Humanitarians where we have continuous updates on what we're doing.
That's awesome.
So that's where we can say, hey, we fundraised $300. Here's where it went. Here are the pictures. There you go. So it's that kind of immediate accountability.
Yeah, I love that about social media, that it gives us an access or, into their world. So go ahead and give us your contact information, how they can find out more about 100 Humanitarians.
Well, it's just the number 100, 100humanitarians.com. And our email address, because I haven't convinced my husband quite yet to convert over to the 100humanitarians.com domain, is 100humanitarians@gmail.com. You can use that for PayPal as well if you just want to donate directly to PayPal, to our PayPal account. And, just join the group. That's the best place to get updates and to connect with all of us. And, we have a really incredible board and team and group of people that are helping mentor us. We've got an awesome advisory board consisting of people who have had 10 to 20 years in the nonprofit world and who are really supportive of what we're doing. And they're all over the country. So, we try really hard to have accountability and to make really wise choices in what we support.
That's awesome. Well, and like Heidi said earlier, that, it doesn't take a lot of money. You can keep somebody educated for $25. And so that's another thing I love about it too, is that it's it's a great way to help people, but yet it's not going to break your bank. If at all possible. So again, Heidi's website is 100humanitarians.com. If you want to get a hold of her, you can enter that with your email of 100humanitarians@gmail.com. However, we will be sure to link all that information that we've discussed today on our website as well. But thank you so much, Heidi, for joining us and helping to light our minds on fire on this important topic. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca. And, hopefully we'll run into each other soon.
Yeah, hopefully it's not, 2 years again, right?
Yeah,
awesome.
For real.
Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind. To learn more about Heidi Totten, go to the show notes of theluminousmind.net. Be sure to become a subscriber to our free email list and get our new monthly newsletter. Then check out the Services tab to see how we can continue to assist you, our fire starters. Also, to help us continue production of illuminating content, go to the Sponsor tab at theluminousmind.net for more information on sponsorship and affiliate programs. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, and now Instagram. Get our free audio content by subscribing on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. To help us grow, consider these easy ways. Tell your friends about us, leave us a review, share our content, tell us how we can help you so together we can continue to light minds on fire and change the paradigm of education.